Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris with Office Gemini. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. We're kind of just letting people come who may be running a few minutes late. So it's 1:33 right now. We'll start in 2 minutes. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris with Office Gemini. Thank you all for joining me today on our Friday webinar. Today we're going to be covering automatic forms processing with Dokmee Capture. I'd first like to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do. So everyone is on silent. I'm going to go through the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we'll take questions. As we're going through the presentation, however, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat box. My colleague Scott Ziskowski is here with me, and he will be fielding questions as we go through the presentation. To frame the call for today, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you just a quick PowerPoint. I'm not going to, slide you guys to death, but I want to talk to you a little bit, just go over the agenda and talk to you about what we're going to do. So, first thing, hold on, my thing's on it. We're going to talk about the problem, and more importantly than the problem, we're going to talk about the solution. There we go. So we'll talk about the problem that we see in the business environment today, and we're going to talk about, more importantly, the solution to that problem. I'm going to talk to you guys about Dokmee Capture and how it can be used to automatically process forms to handle some of the problems or issues that we're seeing with our customers today. And then I'm going to take you to just a demo environment of Dokmee. I'm going to take you through a couple of different ways that we process forms. And then at the end, we'll have questions. We've slated a half an hour for this webinar, so I'm going to move fairly quickly to make sure that we get everything covered. The first thing I want to talk about is today's environment and the problem. So today, we still see out there inefficient paper-based processes. There are companies or organizations who are using paper-based processes, and the end result is it's costing them more money. There's a lot of higher cost involved doing things that way. Today, more than ever, companies have such a large volume of information. Using paper-based processes results in companies using massive amounts of paper, and it takes a massive amounts of capital, human capital, time to do these things. So some of the things that happen when we're using a human-based like paper-based process, we're going to have errors. People make errors, and we have to go back and catch those errors. We have to go back and correct those errors, and that costs money. And these manual processes typically are taking a lot longer than they have to, because today we can automate a lot of these processes. I'll give you the example of just approving a simple invoice. It comes in as a letter. It gets opened. It gets taken or sent through interoffice mail to the sales manager who needs to approve it, and it sits on his desk forever, and then no one knows where it is. And as a result, something that really can be done in a matter of a couple of minutes is taking weeks at times. And then also, when you're talking about moving paper around an office that way, you're using a lot of space to store the documents, and also you run the risk of documents just getting lost. If I take something and give it to my manager and stick it on her desk, who's to say she's ever going to even see it? So what we've allowed our customers to do is just take a lot of these inefficiencies and really streamline their business processes. And in the end result is that it's saving the company money. So some of the other issues that we hear about is one, we call it the audit nightmare. So I'll have a customer who will have some regulatory agency come in and ask them to produce a series of documents, and they have these maybe they have the documents, but nobody knows where they are. They have file cabinets and file cabinets and file cabinets filled. And so what they're having to do is take someone and go through all this stuff and to try to produce the documents that are needed for a specific audit or something of that nature. And then there's also a big security piece as well. When we have our documents out there like that, different things can happen. So here I'm in Houston, and we just had the hurricane come through. It was a few months back, but a lot of people, they lost everything. A lot of businesses lost everything. And a business who has everything stored in file cabinets and something like that happens, it's gone. So what we allow our customers to do, we just allow them a better way to do everything. And that's the solution. It's automatically process this paper, automatically process these forms. And by doing that, we're going to be reducing transaction costs because we're going to be a lot more efficient. We're going to be reducing human error. The turnaround times are going to be very, very quick because, we're not shuffling anything around. Audit trails, the controls around our documents are going to be very, very tight. At any given time, someone can come in and ask you to produce or me to produce a document or a set of documents based on a specific criteria. And if I process those documents electronically, I can quickly, get that information. And so the old way of doing things, it's just, it's a lot better way of doing things. And what we do is we customize this to fit the business. So every business, may do things a little bit differently. And our goal is not to take a company and say, hey, look, this is how we do it. You guys got to fit into this cookie cutter. What we can do is actually be very dynamic and talk to our end users and find out, okay, how are you doing things today? Okay, where do you see the bottlenecks? How can we make this more efficient? How can we use technology to save you guys money? And that's what we do. And then, of course, there's always increased visibility into everything that's going on. And that's kind of part of the auditing. So at any given time, anyone in the company with the specific permissions can go in and find out, anything that they want to know about the digital capital of that organization. And how do we do it? Well, today I'm going to talk to you guys really about Dokmee Capture. And this is on the front end, meaning we're capturing the information from documents, and we're pulling relevant information off of those documents. Why that's important is we're going to take that information and we're going to be able to search on it later. We actually do it two ways here at Office Gemini, and I'm going to talk to you about both of them today. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is just a standard zone recognition. So that's kind of what the slide I'm showing you. So we can go through and we can read barcodes, we can read QR codes, we can do like some smart zone, text OCR where we're giving it markers to look for and picking up things that way. We can do ICR, OMR, and so with all of that, we can take a form and we can extract the relevant data off of it. Now, for us here, we know that this works very, very, very well. It works very, very well with one type of data, mainly structured data. And what I mean by structured is it's data that looks similar from document to document. So what you're seeing here, it's an invoice, and I can take a set of these Dokmee invoices and I can run them through. I can pull off all of the information that I need because all of the invoices look the same. The information that I need is going to be in the same place. So it's very, very easy for me to go in and say, hey, look, I want to find out what the invoice number was or what the date is or the total amount for a set of documents that are similar. A big challenge that we see today is the reality of the business world is documents are not similar. Okay, there's a lot of unstructured data out there. And I'm going to show you guys an example today just using invoices. That's very easy for everybody to understand. For that, we have something that we call magic indexing. This is something that we've released here in the last year because we talk to customers and like, for instance, on the AP side, there's like, well, great, Chris, we like that, but we have invoices from 400 different vendors, and I need to pull the vendor name off of these invoices, the invoice number, the same type of information. So if I look at a set of invoices like that where the data is unstructured, I know certain things are true though. So if I look at an invoice, no matter who that invoice is from, if I need to find the vendor name, I know it's going to be at the top of that document somewhere. Okay, it's going to be, maybe it could be on the left or the right or in the middle. Maybe it's a logo. I just know that it is going to be there somewhere. So before, with structured data, we have to know the general, or structure, we have to know the general area something's in. With magic indexing, it doesn't matter. We just need to know the general area. Okay, so and what I'm showing you here is a screenshot from Dokmee Capture. What we can do is we can make actually very, very big zones. So I can go in and I can say, hey, look, the vendor name is going to be at the top of the invoice. I just don't know exactly where. Let me make a zone that's going to be the top third of the page, and we'll extract the vendor name that way. And so we have a way to actually go in and take a set of invoices from 50 different vendors. You put them on your MFP or your scanner, and you push scan, and then you walk away. And the next time you see those invoices, they are wherever you're storing them. Maybe it's an ECM, maybe it's SharePoint, maybe it's a Windows file system, wherever it is. We can extract the data, we can export it with the metadata to those repositories. And we have our own here, of course, Dokmee DMS. And Dokmee DMS and Dokmee Capture, they work together, but they also work independently. So, right now there are companies out there that do this type of thing, the unstructured data, and we would see that, in the market that, okay, well, there's, a piece of software that will, use some algorithms and learn where the vendor name is after I send, 300 invoices through or 1,000 invoices, whatever it may be. And I have customers that have used technologies like that, and it works okay. But what we've heard is this. Okay, we're buying these. We are having to train someone to use the software. We are running, hundreds, thousands of, 500, 1,000 invoices through, training this software to extract this data. And then the end result is that when it comes back, we still can't guarantee that it's going to be correct. So I still have someone sitting in front of a computer screen, looking at each one of these, looking at the index fields, and making sure that they're correct, basically doing the QC on everything. And that costs money. And we're having to train our employees on it. And the other thing, a lot of these solutions the price points are on the higher end, so it's not. A lot of times for a small medium business, it's just not a good fit from a financial standpoint. And we've listened to that, and so magic indexing addresses all that. Well, we do the way just quickly how magic indexing works. It's actually a service. It's embedded into Dokmee Capture, and when I say that, I mean. A customer they're not required to use it, but if they decide to use it, they will turn it on, they will create their templates, and then it works automatically. The way it works is the set of invoices will come through, And if they're using magic indexing, they're going to come over to our server where we're going to run them through, those same types of recognition engines that we have on our server to extract the data. But then we also have a layer of QC on top of that before we send it back. So the end result is the data that our customers are getting back is correct, because sometimes if we go through, we'll have an invoice and it'll have a logo on it or something, someone did its handwriting or something that's very, very hard to extract accurately. And so, we handle those exceptions for our customers and get them back the data already QC'd. And the way we charge our customers, we actually do it by the character. So you buy a block of characters, and for every character, a keystroke inside of those index fields, when they come back, your account's debited. And I'll show you guys a little bit about that. But what it does is it makes it a very, very low price point or entryway for a company to try it out. You can use it for as little as $99, and as the cost per character goes down by the size of the plan. I ran a set of invoices through. I'm going to show them to you here in a second, and we processed these invoices. They were about like 14 cents each, so it makes it very, very cost effective for a small medium business as well to use this type of technology. Now let's move on. Let's go on. Let's look at Dokmee. So I'm going to show you guys my system. I'm going to show you the two ways that we do it and how it works. So let me close this out and pull up my demo system. Let's see. Well, all right. So here's a set of documents, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use our standard zone recognition, and this is a new hire packet. So we have a new employee coming on, and HR department has a stack of documents that this employee, to onboard the employee. There's a cover sheet, and then I can kind of click through, with their, application and their offer letter. These are actually, a lot of these are here from Office Gemini. If you look, this is the offer letter that we send out, and like from our employee handbook, the policy agreement, and direct deposit information, things like that. So what we can do, though, is we can take this stack of documents, and we can automatically process it. So instead of sticking it in a file somewhere, we can run them through Dokmee Capture and extract all the relevant data off of it. I'll show you how it works. I'm going to click Done. Now, mind you, this can be set up to work automatically. I'm doing this all manually right now to kind of just take you guys through the steps. There's different, what that was the scan step where we scan it in. This is a QC step where we're going to just look at the images, make sure they're clean. If we need to rotate them, clean them up, anything like that, we can do that. And then we're going to take it and run it through the zone recognition. We're going to pull the data off. It's saying we want to process it. Yes. So we're going to process it. It's going to go through. It's going to pull back the index data for the document. So now we go through. These are the index fields, and if you look, we're going to have the file name, and we're going to get to name that file again on the export, the employee ID, employee name, date of birth, social security number, that type of thing. So we can go through, we can take a stack of documents, and we can extract the data. We could also, put barcodes in here and break the documents up if we wanted to do that. And then when we go through, we're going to name the documents coming out. So let's see. There we go. So on the export, we can actually export anywhere. And what I mean is, if you look down here, let's see, we have a series of export scripts that we can use. We can also, export right to a network folder, or if we're doing it that way. Down here I have some loaded up just for some different types of ECMs, or we can export as like with a CSV file for the metadata, XML, really whatever our customer is using, we will be able to accommodate them. So rather than taking a set of documents and importing them into the ECM or SharePoint and having to manually key this information in, we can use something like Capture to go through and extract it automatically. Now, these are our HR documents here from Office Gemini. So it's structured data, meaning, our employee onboarding form looks the exact same no matter who the employee is. Our offer letter looks the exact same. So I can, easily make a template to extract the data off of those types of documents. I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to show you magic indexing, because that's really one of the bigger challenges is, okay, well, what if the documents do not look the same? What do we do? And I have some invoices here that I'm going to show you. So these are some, invoices that, and if you look at them, they're all different. Okay, that's what's important. There's 9 of them, and all the information that we want is on the invoice, only it's all going to be in a little bit different place. So what I did is I went through and I made a magic index template so that we could get or extract the data, and I'll show you what the end result of that was. Let's go through. This is the QC step, and if you look at this, all of these invoices are different links. So when we process these, we're not charging our customers by the page. We're charging them by the character. So whether an invoice is 2 pages, whether it's 8 pages, it does not matter. They're going to be charged by the character. And what I mean by the character, I'm going to show you the index fields. Let me suspend this. We'll go over there. Let's see. Index. No. Here we go. Change process. Here we go. Okay. So now I ran these through a little bit ahead of time. And the reason I did that is because the way magic indexing is set up, a customer who uses it, they're going to process their documents. They're not going to get them back right away. They're going to come to our server. We're going to run them through. We're going to run them through, extract the data, but we have a layer of QC on top. Depending on what's going on, the volume of documents that we're processing at any given moment, it could take, on the high end, it's going to be like 3 hours before it comes back. But if you look here, I ran these through, and all of the relevant data that we would want off of an invoice, the vendor name, the invoice number, the date, due date, invoice amount, the status of the invoice, has been extracted off of the documents. The only field that's going to be missing, I was looking through them, is the due date, and that's because a few of these documents don't have due dates. So, in the event it doesn't have it, it's just going to be left blank. And we have something called auto processing. So I could actually have a folder sitting on my desk that says new invoices. I could take the stack of invoices at night, put them on the scanner, MFP, push scan, and walk away. I come back the next day, they're already in SharePoint, or they're already in Dokmee DMS, or they're already in our file system. Wherever we're storing them, they're there with the metadata, and it's done automatically. So I don't have to sit there and babysit these. I don't have to hire an army of people to manually key in these index fields. I don't have to use something that's going to be maybe not so cost effective, and then I'm going to have to maybe go back and look at this stuff anyway. With magic indexing, it truly is magic. You put them in, and the next time you see them, they're finished. And it works the same way. I'm going to go here. We're going to go to the index QC module. We're just seeing them more like in a table form, and then we're going to export them out. And so we can take these, export them with the metadata out anywhere that, anywhere that we're storing them. We'll also have the option to, to OCR this stuff on the way out. So that's another thing that, some of my customers do. They'll they just digitize the document, and in that case, the whole document becomes searchable. So that's an option here if you look down here. And so this is the first part, and this is how we will take paper documents and we will automatically, process the forms and extract the relevant data. There's two ways that we do it, in summary. We can do it, through zone recognition or different types of recognition, I guess I should say, or we can do it for unstructured data. We can do it through magic indexing. In either case, our customers now have a way to automatically do this. And so we're kind of right at a half an hour now. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. I thank everyone for joining me today. Let's go ahead and open it up. You can type them in the chat if you'd like. Someone has, all right, I see. Let's see. I know someone had their hand raised. I'm not sure how to. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Here's the attendees. Okay, I see. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, Ahmed, did you have a question? Having a hard time hearing you. We're having a hard time hearing you. Could you type it in chat and we will answer it that way? All right, that's a good question. So you have to use magic indexing, or actually can you use them together? And they work different. So the difference is, depending on the type of document that you had, that is what's going to determine the type of recognition that we use. When we work with our customers, we find out, okay, look, let us see the types of documents that you're processing, and we can help them determine the best way to extract the relevant data that they want off of those specific documents. As a rule of thumb, if the documents if it's unstructured data, the best thing to do is to use magic indexing, and I can show you guys the way it works, and then I kind of showed it to you, where you can go through and you can make a very, very large zone and automatically extract the data that you need. The only caveat is the documents that you send through, they need to be of the same type, which means, like, I could not send an HR packet through with a stack of invoices. That's not going to, it wouldn't work that way. The way it works is, when we set the profile up, we're going to set up the metadata fields for the specific profile. It works with the zone recognition or the other types of recognition as well. We're going to set up a profile that's going to determine the rules that we use when we process a specific data set. So for invoices, I'm going to have metadata fields like, vendor name, invoice number, amount, date. If it's HR documents, I'll have, maybe like employee ID, employee name, social security number, hire date, manager, those types of relevant documents. One thing, y'all can see my screen now. So one thing that we can do on the export that I didn't go through is when we export this out, we can also set it up to name these documents something a little bit more meaningful. When I imported them in, it was like document 1 through 10 or invoice 1 through 10, or but on the export, if you look here, we actually can go in, we can use the values of the metadata fields to rename the document. So I can take a file and I can have it export as the vendor name underscore the invoice number. So when that document's exported, that's what it's going to be named. We can also create a foldering structure. So I could go in and I could say, okay, well, we want to do foldering. I want to take a vendor name. And on the export, I'm going to have a folder for each vendor. And then inside of that folder, I'm going to have the invoices that we've processed, named according to the convention that we have here. And if I'm exporting them again and I already have that folder set up, it's not going to create a duplicate. It'll just automatically place it into that folder. So on the export, we'll also have some options of how everything looks or how our files look on the export. We can also choose the type of file that we want. Whether do we want a TIFF, do we want a PDF, do we want a JPEG. Do we want to OCR it, and do we want what type of compression do we want to use? We have a high compression tool inside of Capture. It's built in, and so we can take a PDF and compress it down like very, very small, which can come in if we're taking our documents, we're having to view them on a mobile device or something like that. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Ahmed, I had a question about CAD files, viewing CAD files. And yes, you can. So the files that come in, they're going to be stored in the native format. If we're going to take CAD files and process a large volume of those files, what we need to know is find out, do you want to keep them that way? Do you want to convert them to PDFs? Do you want to convert them to another format? Because actually that's because on our the second piece, which we didn't really cover today, is Dokmee DMS, and that's where we're going to take these files and move them. If I look here, I can take them and I can stick them into Dokmee, but we also have the option, because we have customers that use they store their documents in all different places. So we can use an export script and take the documents and send them anywhere. I can't speak for some of these other ECMs, but in Dokmee, you can view CAD files files in the native format that they're in. You're welcome. Do we have any other questions? Which database do we use? So Dokmee Capture is going to use a SQL database on the back end, and there's actually two versions of it. So this is something I didn't talk about. We have two versions of Capture. We have a standalone version and we have a networked version. And the differences are this. So the standalone version is going to install on a workstation, and everything will be self-contained on that workstation. So I could have 3 copies of Dokmee standalone, but we're not going to be able to work on the same documents. We're not going to be able to see the same documents. Now, we also have a networked version. We have a lot of scanning bureaus that are customers. I'll use that as an example. They will have 5 copies at one station of Dokmee network, and because it's set up with different modules. You have scan, and you have QC, and you have index, and then you can have a double verification on the index verification and export, and it'll have a common backend. So I can have multiple stations working on the same batch of documents. And that's the difference in the 2 versions. Other than that, you're going to get the same functionality out of each. So for a small office, medium office who, has a scanner, they're scanning stuff in, a copy of Dokmee standalone usually will work fine. For a larger company or like a company that does actual scanning production, where they're using a large volume, processing a large volume of documents, typically they're using the network version so that they can hook them all together. And in that case, the database would just be on one machine. The other machines are gonna use the same back end. Okay, the question was, in the case of more than one workstation, is there synchronization? So with Dokmee Capture Network, yes. So we can have 4 copies of Dokmee Capture Network, 5. We can have as many copies of Dokmee if it's the network version, then we can actually have those all of those workstations synchronized together. If it's Dokmee Capture standalone, if I have 5 copies of it, they're all going to be in their own little silo. Meaning, I can have, I'd come in and I had a copy of Dokmee Capture standalone, and I'm processing documents. Scott's next to me. He's doing the same thing, but we can't see what each other is doing, and we cannot work on each other's documents. So the good thing about network is you can kind of set it up where maybe I'm doing the scanning and the QCing, and then someone else is doing the indexing, and then someone else is doing the QC on the indexing. So we can break it up that way so that we can process a larger volume of documents a lot faster. We can also give our employees something like maybe just a couple of things to learn and get very, very good at, and the end result is processing documents a lot faster as well. All right. Well, before we close out, I just wanted to ask one more time if we have any other questions. Okay. Well, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, if you need more information, please go to our website. It's www.dokmee, that's DOKMEE.com. Or you can also call us here. And the number here to the office is 832-369-3900. And my extension is 6008. My colleague, Scott Ziskowski, his extension is 5311. So we hope to hear from y'all. 5312, excuse me. So we hope to hear from everybody. Thank y'all for joining us, and everyone, y'all have a great weekend. Thanks.